I hear what you're saying. You do Warhammer 40k stuff all the time. Why do you have a movie trailer up on your video feed? Well, if you have not seen Event Horizon, it came out in 1997. If you have not watched it, go to Netflix now. Look for Event Horizon, watch it, and then come back here. For everybody that has watched Event Horizon and just doesn't remember it, this is going to open your eyes a little bit. And if you are just coming back from watching Event Horizon, let's take a trip, people. Okay, so I'm going to hold off for a couple of seconds. If anybody hasn't seen this movie, please go watch it. It's on Netflix right now. They're not paying me for a plug. I just love this movie. So go watch it now. And when you come back, come to this timestamp. And
I created the Event Horizon to reach the stars. But she's gone much, much farther than that. She tore a hole in our universe, a gateway to another dimension. A dimension of pure chaos. Pure evil.
yes, that is why I love this movie. This is in everything but name a 40k prequel. Now, why do I say that? Because it has some of the best ways of showing somebody, and this is something I recommend if somebody's interested in 40k, show them this movie. It has perfect examples of how chaos in 40k actually works and the way it manifests itself in early and then late stages. So let's start off by just summarizing the plot, and then I'll show you a movie clip, and then I'll talk a little bit about that. But it starts off with the Event Horizon being created by Dr. Weir, who is Sam Neill's character in this. Now, he built it. He designed something called the gravity drive that goes inside of it. So the Event Horizon is built, and they send it out for its first test. It goes missing. Everything goes correctly, goes according to plan, but the ship just disappears. And nobody knows what happened to it. Then one day, it pops back up. It is considered the worst disaster in space history up until that point.
Right. Well, everything I'm about to tell you is considered code black by the NSA. USAC intercepted a radio transmission from a decaying orbit around Neptune. The source of this transmission has been identified as the Event Horizon.
Yeah. Well, that's bullshit. Start.
Okay, so from the outset, it's clear that the crew doesn't want to be there. They don't want to be going after this ship. It might have something to do with it becoming a kind of an urban legend. It was the worst space disaster ever, blah, 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 blah. But all of that kind of gets worse when they hear the distress signal that got sent out and got intercepted. And while up until this point, this could be just another space opera slasher horror, this is when it starts really taking a turn towards 40k.
The TDRS did receive this single transmission.
The fucking hell is that?
Okay, so I love that character. He is kind of like my inner monologue when I'm dealing with anything 40k related, especially chaos. So they listen to that, they clear it up a bit, and when they cleared it up, they heard somebody speaking Latin in the background. Now, if you know anything about 40k, Latin is actually what they call High Gothic. It's what officers speak. It's what governors speak. If you want to get ahead in life, you need to learn the High Gothic. That's step one. If you ever want to get anywhere in life, High Gothic is what you need to learn. Low Gothic is what the majority of the Imperium speak, and by majority I mean about 99.9%. So that was the first thing. I was like, oh wait, Latin? Okay, well, that's That's part of it. Anyhow, they board the boat. It's kind of intense. And then they get on board and they start finding evidence that something horrible happened to the crew inside. Now, they find blood pretty much everywhere inside the bridge, and then they find a guy that literally looks like he's got into a fight that he lost with a lawnmower. So things are looking rather horrible. And then this happens.
Justin? Justin, you're breaking up. Justin, come in.
What is it?
I don't know, the life scan just went off the scale.
Something's wrong, Stark. Pull him out. Pull him out.
Oh, shit!
Now, a couple of things happen in that scene. The first of which is the machine triggered itself, which leads me to believe that, okay, let's introduce all the 40K fuckery into this. That machine itself is what is possessed by chaos, which does carry the taint of chaos. It activates itself when it's near his presence, and as soon as it activates, the life readings in the area go off the scale, according to the first officer. So they're reading just a mass of life that has just suddenly sprung into that area. They're reading a bunch of power fluctuations, and then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. Guys, I'm really sorry about my camera if it's blurry. I've been fighting it for at least 2 hours doing this now. After this scene, you really start seeing the way the chaos works on a low to mid range level at this point. Now it's going to start targeting people who have actual chinks in their, I wouldn't say their mental armor, but in their conscience. You see Dr. Weir, who starts having visions of his dead wife. You see Captain Miller having visions of a dead crewman that he had on board his ship. You see the doctor, the primary doctor, not the trauma specialist or the search and rescue, she starts having visions of her son, who is basically, it seems, has some sort of illness or disease, and she left him at home to come on this mission. So it starts messing with them in particular. Now, while the ship isn't messing with the other members of the crew, it is having an effect on them that becomes really visible.
Smitty, have you seen anything unusual at all?
No, I haven't seen anything, and I don't need to see anything, sir, but I can tell you. This ship is fucked.
Well, thank you for that scientific analysis, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, well, you don't need to...
Okay, figure it out, do ya?
All right, Doug.
I mean, you break all the laws of physics and you seriously think there would be a price? I mean, you already killed the last fucking crew. I know you want to kill us as well. Fuck. Fucking ship, all right?
The ship. Do you understand? It's just a big hunk of metal. There's nothing odd going on.
DJ?
Now it starts becoming clear. Something has definitely influenced some of the crew. Now this is a search and rescue crew. This is not a regular freighter crew or something like that. These people are essentially space search and rescue. This is not a crew that is going to be flighty or really, really prone to losing their shit at the drop of a hat. In this crew, you have the leader, who has definitely seen some shit, the first officer, who has as well. You have 3 medical personnel, a search and rescue, a basic trauma expert, and a doctor. And then you have the pilot, who has definitely been around the block with how accidents can look in space and things of that nature. This is not a crew that's going to snap like this instantaneously. So the influence on them is starting to really show through. And the best example of that was the doctor. He was so affected by what was going on. He literally had a knife to the throat of a friend of his and didn't realize he was doing it until it was pointed out to him. Now, this is something that is shown in the books, where the behavior is rationalized, the behavior is normalized, and it seems like the only option to do this, to go from, okay, this guy is fighting, this guy's attacking the scientist, let me put a knife to his throat now.
I ran the bioscan with the DNA RNA filters. The results were bioreadings
Of an indeterminate origin, yes, I know. Don't you have anything useful to tell me, Lieutenant?
I've got a theory.
Let's hear it.
I think that there's a connection between the readings and the hallucinations, like they're all part of a defensive reaction, some sort of immune system.
I don't have time to listen to this.
You have to listen to me.
To what?
I'm saying that this ship is reacting to us and the reactions are getting stronger. It's as if the ship brought back something with it, a life force of some kind.
So the doctor and the first officer had been deciphering a message they had found garbled in the computer. They hadn't had any success with it. And this conversation happens right before the engineer that got sucked into the gravity drive essentially wakes up in a trance and tries to kill himself. And while he's attempting to do it, he's talking about the darkness in me. If you could see the things that I've seen, you wouldn't try to stop me. Essentially, this guy got thrown straight into the warp. And that is not good for anybody's prolonged mental health. Now, before and after that scene, there was more scenes in which the captain, the Dr. Weir, and the actual medical doctor were continuously getting messed with. It was just a continuous cycle of ever escalating visions and hallucinations and sights that it just shows that this is just going to continue to get worse. And then one of my favorite scenes in the movie happens when you see Captain Miller speaking with the trauma specialist.
I've known you a long time. You never told me that. That's just it, DJ. I never told anybody. But this ship knew about it. It knows my fears. It knows my secrets. Gets inside your head and it shows you.
It is soon as after that conversation that the first officer and the medical doctor finished deciphering the message that was left in the captain's log. Now, for obvious reasons, I can't show that damn message. If you know what I'm talking about, you understand why. But I will show the reaction of the two that finished decoding it so you can see. Now, I remind you, these are people who are search and rescue operatives. If you don't know anything about search and rescue, basically you see some very horrible shit. I know. So basically, you're used to seeing terrible things as part of your job. Now, I love the reaction of these two actresses to this, with them having the characters they've had and showing the kind of things that they've shown.
Stark! Oh. Miller?
We're leaving.
It is at this moment where every rational person would just want to get the fuck out of there, seeing what happened to the last crew. So everybody except one person is on board for just getting the fuck out of there ASAP. And this is when we see the major major incidences of chaos come into play. Two people have been affected more than others by the ship, and that would be Dr. Peters, the medical doctor, and Dr. Weir, who actually invented the thing. Now, Peters, they're getting supplies together. Weir is protesting leaving the ship. He doesn't want to leave the ship for reasons that are going to become obvious in very short time. Peters, on the other hand, is wanting to get out of there. She wants to go home, and that's when she starts hearing her son calling to her. I'm not going to show this scene, but she rationalizes in her head, because that is how chaos works, that her son is actually there, and she needs to go chase him down. This is not her son, this is a fucking demon. And it gets her in a position where she basically falls to her death. And when she falls to her death, Dr. Weir finds her. And when Dr. Weir finds her, the shock of seeing her dead sends him into essentially his final stage of hallucination, where he sees his wife. And then we learn something, that we learn the reason why this ship is selecting his dead wife to show him. Now, his wife has been missing her eyes, and it's not clear yet why. But he sees her going through the last few moments of her life, and she killed herself because she was having mental problems, obviously, and Dr. Weir was too obsessed with the Event Horizon, building the thing. And rather than taking care of her, he was taking care of the ship. And she died in his head as a direct result of his inaction on her part. And it drives him over the edge. And he literally gouges his own eyes out. And at this point, he is now fully corrupted by chaos in a 40k sense. In a 40k sense, at this point, he is absolutely 100% corrupted. Dr. Peters, no, she was just influenced. But the bad thing about it is the influence wound up costing her life. Weir, on the other hand, is absolutely corrupted. At this point, you could consider him a chaos cultist. Now, what happens past this is Weir starts working directly against the crew. He sabotages the Lewis and Clark, which had just been repaired, and essentially blows it up. He does kill the pilot, and everybody does believe he kills the search and rescue that was working on the ship at the time. Then he goes and kills the trauma specialist and arranges his body in a very not nice kind of way. All this sets up Miller to confront Dr. Weir on the bridge of the Event Horizon. Now, during this scene, Weir has incapacitated the first officer. It's also been shown he is extremely strong at this point. He actually, when he killed the trauma specialist, he was throwing him around like a rag doll. So something is obviously enhancing his strength, and not to mention he has no damned eyes. So, when Miller confronts him, that's when the scene that I showed you at the front of this actually happens, where he talks about how the ship opened up a portal to a realm of chaos, instead of doing what it was intended to do. At this point, the search and rescue swimmer saves Miller's life by basically just showing up in front of the front window of the ship, distracting Dr. Weir, getting him to shoot out the front window of the ship, which supposedly kills Weir. He gets blown out into the vacuum of space, while Miller and his first officer, he pulls both of them to safety. And then the search and rescue operator comes over an air hatch, and they both, despite him being blown out into the vacuum of space, believe it could be him. That is the level that they're operating at right now. They know that this is not natural. Nothing is right now. But the search and rescue operator comes on board the ship. Now, before he got blown out of the front of the ship, Weir had already initiated a jump, and they knew about it. So their whole thing at this point is to either stop the jump or somehow get out of there. And nobody wants to go back to the drive section to be around what seems to be the center of all this, which is the gravity drive. So they opt to destroy the neck of the ship to separate the living quarters and the bridge from the drive section. Even though they can't stay in the bridge, they can stay and live in the medical quarters. So that seems to be what they go with. Now, at this point, this is when we start seeing some real fun shit to watch, where essentially the first officer and the search and rescue get flooded by what appears to be blood. And while that's happening, Miller finds out that the bombs can't be remotely detonated. They have to be triggered. So now he has the trigger, and the vision of his crewmate that died in fire comes back to him and forces him literally to go, instead of going forward to where he wants to be, now he goes back to the drive section. And that is where we get Weir's, what I think, I still don't think this is his physical body. I think this is his soul.
No, your dad had been correct. I watched him die.
Weir? The ship brought me back. I told you she won't let me leave. She won't let anyone leave.
At this point, now we're getting the typical bad guy speech, especially the Chaos bad guy speech from 40K. We also see the manifestation of powers, such as the ability to project things into Miller's mind and ridiculous strength. Essentially, at this point, like I said, I do not think this is Weir. I think that this is whatever Chaos entity is in the ship projecting him.
It is time to go back.
I know. To hell.
You know nothing. Hell is only a word. The reality is much, much worse.
So, after this, the Dr. Weir thing shows him what he intends to do to the remaining members of his crew. That being the engineer, who is still barely alive on life support, the search and rescue, his first officer, and him. But the Weir thing does not quite realize that Captain Miller has a detonator, which he uses. And the movie ends with the search and rescue and the first officer alongside the engineer being found by another set of search and rescue. There's a jump scare. It's kind of pointless. It's the only thing I disagree with in the entire movie. But that has been my review of what I consider the first ever prequel of 40K. This one took a while. It took a lot of editing. It took a lot of stuff. And it's the first one I've ever tried that's kind of been this kind of long, really, for me to take care of. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I hope if you didn't see Event Horizon before this, I hope you really enjoyed that too. So, like and subscribe. I will see you guys next time. Oh yeah, and remember kids, if you're going to invent faster than light travel, turn on the fucking Geller field. Thank you.